Hola, today we are going to learn the alphabet in Spanish. And we are going to divide this class into two parts. The first part, we are going to see the name of the letters of the alphabet, okay, in Spanish. And the second part, we are going to learn how those letters sound, okay? So let's start with the alphabet. El alfabeto. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. Now, I want to call your attention to these two letters. They are not the same letter. Okay, they are different letters. This one is N and this one is N. O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V. Some countries call this letter B chica because they call this one B grande and this one B chica. But we are going to say V so you don't get confused. W, X, Y, Z. Now the second part of this video is to learn how these letters sound. Okay, we are talking about the phonetical part of the alphabet. We are going to start with the vowels, las vocales. And it's very important. If you learn your vowels, you're going to learn how to speak Spanish very, very fast. So I want you to take your time, pause this video if necessary, and repeat after me. A, E, I, O, U. One more time. A, E, I, O, U. Now I'm going to share with you some of the problems English speakers have with the vowels. Because your vowels in English, they could have different sounds. Not in Spanish. In Spanish, you have 5 vowels and you have 5 sounds. English, you have 5 vowels and you could have, depending on the dialect, up to 15 different sounds. So in Spanish, it's very easy, very straightforward. You just need to memorize A, E, I, O, U. Okay? So there is no sound or or A or I. No, it's always A, E, I, O, U. Okay? So what we are going to do now is to go over the letters and we are going to combine the letter. If it's a consonant, we are going to try to combine the consonant with the vowels, okay? So, A sounds like A. Now, the letter B in Spanish is very similar to English, but a little bit softer, okay? So, you're going to get your lips together and you go ba, be, bi, bo, boo. The letter C is very similar to the rules we have in English. When you have C plus A, C plus O, C plus U, you're going to have the hard C, the K sound. So you have Ka, Ko, Ku. But whenever you have C plus E or C plus I, that C is going to sound like S, okay? Se, Si. So let's repeat. Ka, ko, ku, se, si. The letter D is also kind of similar to English. You just need to be careful to make sure you put your tongue a little forward so your upper teeth will connect with your tongue when you say it, okay? And you need to avoid releasing the puff of air that we do when we speak English. When you say I do, I'm releasing some puff of air, and we don't do that in Spanish. Okay, so you go da, de, di, do, do. So you need to avoid saying da, de, di, do, that t sound. You don't do that in Spanish. Again, you go da, de, di, do, do. Now here we have E, The letter F is the same sound, fa, fe, fi, fo, fu. And here we have a troublemaker. The letter G could have two different sounds depending on the vowels that come after it. Okay? So you have G plus A, G plus O, G plus U. You're going to go ga, go, gu. But what about ge and gi? How do I make that sound? If you want to say ge, gi, you need to put a U in between the E and the G and between the I and the G. Okay? And I'm going to tell you in a minute why. So here we go. Ga, go, gu, ge, gi. But watch what happens if I don't have that U in between. Then the sound of the G will change to like an H in English. A little bit, stronger. So you have he, hi. Okay? So let's do it again. Ga, go, gu, ge, gi, he, hi. The letter H in Spanish, H, is silent. You will never pronounce this letter. Every time you see it, you ignore it. It's just like saying knife, kino. You don't say knife, kino. That K in English is silent. Same thing we have in Spanish. So you go A, E, I, O, U. Okay? Then you have E sound. And the letter J will sound like your English H, a little bit stronger. I repeat. So you go ha, he, hi, ho, hu. The letter K in Spanish is only used with foreign words. You will not see native words in Spanish written with a K. The letter L is just like in English. So you go la, le, li, lo, lu. The letter M is just like in English, ma, me, mi, mo, mu. The letter N, same thing, na, ne, ni, no, nu. And then we have the letter N. Remember, we saw before, these letters are different. They're not the same. This thing on top here marks the difference. It's called tilde. Okay? So here we are going to say ña, nye, ni, ño, ño. This is a sound we don't have in English. In the English language, we don't have this sound. So, but it's a pretty easy sound. O. And then we have the letter P. The letter P, we have the same situation of the letter D. You're going to try to avoid releasing the puff of air that we do when we speak English. In English, for instance, we say paper. P, p. You release that puff of air. Well, in Spanish, you're going to say it much, much softer. Okay? So you say pa, pe, pi, po, pu. You don't say pa, pe, pi, po, pu, because that is not Spanish. We are going to say it very soft. Pa, pe, pi, po, pu. Now we have the letter Q. The letter Q will sound like a k sound, but you need to put Q-U-E, Q-U-I. These are the only two sounds that you're going to pronounce with Q-U-E, Q-U-I. And why? Remember, let's go back here to our letter C. The other sounds, ka, ko, ku, you're going to spell with a C. So you go C plus A, C plus O, C plus U. And then you ask, how do I spell K? Well, in order to spell K, you have to write Q-U-E. And in order to spell key, you spell Q-U-I. Okay? So actually, if we just talk about sound, the sound, I could go ka, ke, ki, ko, ku. I hope it makes sense. Then we have the letter R. The letter R is totally different in Spanish. You're not going to articulate the same way you do in English. So you go ra, re, ri, ro, ru. The letter S, just like in English, sa, se, si, so, su, The letter T, do not release the puff of air. One more time, we go ta, te, ti, to, tu. Again, in order not to release that puff of air, just put your tongue a little forward when you articulate it, and that will prevent that puff of air. U. And then you have the letter V. The letter V in Spanish, there is no V sound in Spanish. Okay? Every time you see a V, you are going to pronounce like a B, but in a softer way. So you go ba, be, bi, bo, bu. Okay? So V and B, they pretty much have the same sound. You go ba, be, bi, bo, bu, and then you go ba, be, bi, bo, bu. There's a slight difference, but you can just for now pronounce them as a B. Okay? The letter W you only find in foreign words in Spanish. There are no native words in Spanish with the letter W. And the letter X is a tricky one because it could have three different pronunciations. For example, in the word Mexico, it's pronounced like your H. It's the same sound of the J, okay? Ha, he, hi, ho, hu. So we have Mexico. But in taxi, you have X sound. And in xylophone, you have the S sound. So this letter could have three different sounds. How do we know? We are going to learn, to memorize some words and the sound of the X. The letter Y. The letter Y could have two different sounds as well, depending on the country. Okay? So you could have ya, ye, yi, yo, you, or you could have ja, je, ji, jo, ju. Okay, now it's going to be like a regional difference. Some countries you always say ja, je, ji, jo, ju, and some countries ya, ye, yi, yo, you. The letter Z is always pronounced like an S. There is no Z sound in Spanish. Okay, so you go sa, so, su. Okay, and we have these letters that they are combined letters and they have different sounds when they are together. So when you have eye, double L, you're going to pronounce ya, ye, yi, yo, you, double R's. Well, before we talk about double R's, let's go back to a single R. So here, when you have one R, you could have two different sounds. You can have one flap, one trill, like ra, re, ri, ro, ru. And sometimes at the beginning of a word or in the middle of a word, when the R is between two vowels, you could have the long one. So these two could have the same sound, like ra, re, ri, ro, ru. But whenever you see double R's, it's always the long trill. Ra, re, ri, ro, ru. And finally, we have the letter che. It's a combination of a C and an H. And you're going to go cha, che, chi, cho, chu. Well, I hope that was helpful. Make sure you repeat this video as many times as necessary. See you in class. Gracias.